Hello and welcome to the maiden voyage of Dungeon Mastering videos. The video section is a new feature we're going to be offering you on DungeonMastering.com. Maybe some of you are auditory learners or simply like watching videos. Or maybe you want to be able to improve your game while you're working out at the gym or driving somewhere in your car. For that reason, we're going to be refreshing some of our greatest hits articles and bringing you some original content in the form of videos and audio files that you can take with you anywhere and never have to read a thing. This is just our first outing to judge what sort of interest there is. In the future we hope to bring you many more videos on many topics, and hopefully with improved video and audio quality as we upgrade our equipment. Now, today I want to talk to you about solo campaigns. A solo campaign is one with two players, a dungeon master, and one player playing a PC as normal. You might be asking yourself, why solo campaign? Well, sometimes it's a matter of necessity. You just can't get a time when everyone can get together. It's a lot easier to schedule 2 people than 6. Or you just might not be able to get the 6 people together to play a game. Maybe you just have a roommate or a girlfriend or someone who's close to you that you can play just with. But it's not always out of necessity. Some people like solo campaigns. They tend to be combat light and roleplay heavy because there's just one person, usually with a richer background, interacting with the NPCs and the rest of the world. On the DM side of things, solo campaigns offer low prep time and quite easy to improv. It's a lot simpler to think of one monster or a few minions for your one player to fight than trying to balance an entire encounter for a group of 5. Sometimes solo campaigns can be better for teaching new players. Certain people who've never played the game might be intimidated coming to a table full of experts and slowing down play. It might be easier to teach them one-on-one for a few adventures while they get a handle on things. Solo campaigns have a few characteristics that I'm quite fond of, though. They show off skills that sometimes get buried in play. Now, a lot of times if you have a rogue in your group, they don't get to sneak around all that much. Because while they're sneaking around, the other players are sitting around getting bored. And when the other players get bored, they tend to do something stupid. So usually the rogue would go to sneak in, and the barbarian decides that he's going to charge in, and to heck with all that stealth stuff. Diplomacy also tends to get lost in room play. It's quite difficult when 5 people are trying to negotiate with 1. In a solo campaign, those skills really come to the forefront, because there's no other group that needs to sit around waiting, and there's only one voice interacting with the world. Likewise, the player in a solo campaign has to use all his skills or abilities. You can't just have each person do what they're best at, having the rogue sneak, having the barbarian take hits, having the wizard use his rituals. You really need to use all your abilities. If you're a fighter out there on your own and there's a locked door you can't break down, you're going to need to pick it or find some other way around it. There's just nothing for it. You can't rely on anyone else. Now, solo campaigns aren't always easy. You're going to need to tweak the rules a bit. If you want to roll in a solo campaign, I've got some tips for you to follow. Keep it combat light. One-on-one battles, mostly against minions. You don't want to kill your single player because there's really nothing that can be done for it. A lot of times there's not going to be a healer, or if it is, it'll only be that one character. So, if the player gets into trouble, he might die, or she might die, and there's no one to bring her back or even notice. You can introduce more powerful foes in a solo campaign, liches, dragons, beholders, that sort of thing, but they should be able to be dealt with cunning, stealth, or diplomacy. Just because there's a powerful monster doesn't mean it needs to be killed directly. It can be dealt with using other skills. For a character in a solo campaign, really carefully consider the class and build. The Dungeon Master's Guide recommends defenders and leaders, and they work well, but really any class can work, although the DM might need to tweak the monster hit point and damage for some of the more frail classes. That said, ranged builds are not a good idea, because there's no one to absorb the blows, so you're just going to get surrounded, and every time you attempt to use a ranged attack, it's going to be opportunity attack city. You can still be wizards and casters and such, but go for close powers, close bursts and blasts, so you don't need to worry about opportunity attacks. You do have the advantage as a caster, you don't really need to worry about friendlies, because it's just you, so feel free to take some of those big explosion powers. If you're running a solo campaign, I suggest you put a sidekick in. Not necessarily to help with combat, but just so the PC has someone to talk to and bounce off of, so the player isn't walking around in silence all the time. Hirelings work, familiars are good, and even animal companions if you give them enough personality to really fill the role. Sidekicks shouldn't be taking center stage or leading the player around, because then you lose one of the strong advantages of a solo campaign, the focus on that one character. But it's still helpful to have them around, just so there's someone to talk to, and there's a lot of opportunities for humor or powerful role-playing from the sidekick, but remember, always secondary to the character. If you're running a solo campaign, don't be afraid to overpower. Give out extra magic items, more powerful ones, artifacts, level the character quickly, even hand out extra feats or tweak the effects of powers to make them stronger. You don't need to worry about party balance or jealousy, you just need to worry about either that your one character is going to be killed by monsters or they're going to defeat monsters too easily. The second one is easily dealt with stronger monsters. But really, the one character is the star of this campaign, and they should feel it. Don't be afraid to make them powerful. Now, solo adventures don't have to take place in just a solo campaign. You could mix them into a regular campaign. They can be a fun spotlight for an individual character. Maybe the rogue in your regular group goes off on a heist and has a solo adventure of his own. Now, there can be a risk of overpowering the character if you're giving out experience and magic items during these individual adventures. There's also risk of jealousy within the group if you just give one player solo adventures over and over again and don't spread it out equally among them. That said, you can do some really interesting things with a solo adventure in a regular campaign. I recommend trying an origin story for the PCs. Start them right before they join the group and find out how they get there. That way you also don't have to worry about overpowering them because they won't be getting anything more than what they started the game with. And you can learn a lot about the background and personality of that character. So there's solo campaigns, so get another person and have some fun. And that's all for the first Dungeon Mastering videos. We'll see you next time.